Welcome to Mum Days, a beautiful collective of mamas and experts sharing wisdom, inspiration, and life hacks to support us on this journey through the hazy days of motherhood. Welcome to our episode of Mum Days podcast. This is our special edition episode for Mother's Day, and it is our inaugural episode for the What Your Mama Didn't Tell You. I feel like there should be a drum roll and a lightning flash or something at that point, but this is a once a month episode that I will be doing with my amazing sister, Dawn Calvinisti, who is hanging out in the beautiful sunshine in Guatemala, where she lives. So this will happen every month. At the end of the month, we'll be chatting all things that we didn't know, our friends didn't know, maybe our moms didn't know, and how that has, directed our lives, affected our decisions, and how we've come to learn from those situations. So today's is a special one because we have our mama with us. Yay! Give her a little surprise hand clap for everyone. This is our mom, Marilyn, and she is joining us so that we can tell, things that what our mama didn't tell us, but it's because it's what her mama didn't tell her. So we're going to talk a little bit about those things. And we've got serenading in the background. I love it. Some of the birdies.
There was someone whistling.
Someone whistling at you now.
Oh, rats, it wasn't.
It's her husband.
I brought them just for you.
Oh, lovely. I like it. The ambiance. So we were chatting a little bit, and, I think Dawn and I, some of our favorite topics as doulas and childbirth educators and mamas is all things to do with pregnancy and birth and babies and all that good stuff. So we wanted to ask our mom a little bit about her upbringing and what her stories were, because I know she's told us some, but I want to hear her share them with you about her mom. So our grandma, and she was quite the character in a good way. She was an amazing woman. But there was a totally different era, and she lived quite an interesting life, right? Especially in the early years of their marriage. So tell us a little bit, Mom, about your mom. So you could tell us, a little bit about what they were doing at the time that they started having babies, what that kind of looked like for her, and we can go from there.
Well, things were very rigid for my mom, actually. Her and her husband were in pastoral ministry. And they were on a kind of a remote area on an island. And they were in a little log house, small congregation. And her first baby, she didn't have it there. She had it in Huntsville, actually.
Oh.
And her husband was away doing evangelism. And he didn't see the baby for 2 weeks till he got home because he hitchhiked. He didn't have a car.
Oh.
And her mom they lived above a bakery. So she got this big bread basket. And that was her first child's bed.
Nice.
And of course she nursed all of
really
us.
Good.
Yeah, wonderful. She nursed us all and wondered why I didn't, but that's
another story.
And so she had taken her first baby and her husband. They'd gone to this island, remote area of it, and in this cabin. And when they were having the superiors, kind of their what do you call it? Their director of their affiliated denomination, to visit. My mother would be on her hands and knees, she told me, scrubbing with a brush, even if there was ice on the floor, to make sure that the place was really clean. But her second baby, it was born and it died. It was getting close to that time. And she was feeling contractions, laid down in the bed and told my dad, to get a doctor. He got the horse and the buggy, and had to travel at least, like by car, it would be at least an hour to the doctor. And he was drunk when he got there by horse and buggy.
Not your dad.
No.
The doctor.
But
he drank all the way there.
He waits, he makes coffee, tries to sober him up.
The doctor was drunk.
Gets him on the wagon, gets him to the house. And in the meantime, the baby had been born. She had lost so much blood. She was too weak. He kind of left instructions, she did, with another family to, if something happens, to please, at least, help her through it. And they did come. And the two ladies, she asked them to cut the bag of water so the baby at least do that. But they wouldn't touch it. They were afraid to do that. And so, I don't know, maybe they had children too, but I don't know what happened there.
Well, a baby born on cull was probably still unique even then. Do you think, Dawn? Like
they always had doctors,
right? So I mean, I know the first time I saw a baby born in the bag of waters, it was very odd. Like it looks odd, and if you don't know what's happening, it could seem a little freaky.
Yeah, they could have been afraid. Maybe they hit the baby with the scissors or whatever. But that's all my mom had.
Yeah,
but they didn't. They walked away, and of course, it drowned in the water and everything that was there. And then he got back, and of course, they had to burn the mattress. She was bled so bad, and they had to bury the baby. And 16 years later, not 16, but when I was 16, my mom and dad and we went out to that area of that island. She was searching for the graveyard, but they didn't really. They said they put a cross there, a little wooden one, but behind the place they lived, but she couldn't find it. She was on her knees. She was crying. So I felt bad for her. Like, it's the first time I saw emotion from my mom, from sensing, this was really a child. Like, this really happened. You know? So those were kind of her beginnings, kind of thing, that way, But I mean, she birthed, with seven, well, actually 8. That would have been 8 children, and she lost one early, like a miscarriage. She had early also between me and the last sibling, and my sibling, very early, like the 2nd month or something like that. But so she certainly knew how to birth children.
She knew how to have babies. But it's interesting. You said that when you were older, you went back, and that's when the emotion came up, because it's not something that you talked about.
No,
losing a baby wasn't like, even today, we're still trying to encourage moms through loss to talk about it.
Yeah.
The amount of times when I miscarried, the amount of friends who came up to me later and said, I've lost 3 babies. I've lost 2 babies. I had no idea. Like I had friends telling me they had stillbirths that I never knew about, because no one knew. And it's still a taboo thing in some cultures and in our society, I think, to just vocalize that pain. So I can't even imagine having gone through that and not, being able to process it in a time when that wasn't what you did,
Yeah. And when other people, even Holly, when you had your miscarriage, it's like I felt that I had to stay away in my own mind, because if I would get really emotional and start crying, and I thought that I didn't want to affect you.
Yeah.
So that's how kind of
it's the being strong for others.
Yeah, we were like brought up too,
Yeah.
My mom was like that, and it was like and I went to one very good little friend. He had a hole in his heart, and we just played the day before, and then he had dropped dead and went outside, and I was at his funeral, and I was only 4 years old, sat on the front pew, stood in line with my mom and dad and helped them after the service, and they were crying profusely. And I was almost like traumatized in a sense, but I realized that, okay, little Robbie had died. And so, but my mom and dad, they weren't crying. And so I would just stand there,
How do you process that?
Yeah. And I don't remember, I just remember all day that day and the day after how sad I was, but I didn't cry. I just was sad. No, they never told me not to cry.
Right.
Nothing like that. But I remember that I and my husband, when we were in pastoral ministry, the same thing. I sang at a lady's funeral, a young girl who had lost, her baby had died to SIDS. SIDS, sorry, to see SIDS.
Yes.
And
I remember that.
I sang at her funeral and that, and I could, like, I had no problem doing that. I had no emotion whatsoever, but yet I went to the house and I just, I had to just comfort her and hold her, and that's kind of been my life in death and things like that. And not that I didn't on my own, but I just felt I didn't want to affect anyone else. I didn't want to make them feel worse, and but I mean that's
what it is. That's that stoic. It's that being strong for other people, right? Yeah, I saw grandma like that, and even on the other side, grandpa, and people that were in our life. It wasn't, you weren't an emotional generation.
No, today it's they just say, well, suck it up, but, and that's what we did. We just sucked it up.
Yeah.
But it's better that you can really discuss it through. I do counseling now. I have gone through a lot of studies on it and everything, and I help at our church and do that when people come in, and I walk through a lot of that with them, and I often have tears running down my face.
Isn't it amazing how cathartic it is for the person helping now? Like, now that that healing and that feeling of being able to help them through grief.
Yes,
you've traveled it yourself.
Very important for them to discuss that and to go through that, and I'm able now to raise questions and to source that through with them. Rather than keeping it in my skull, in my head, that you don't go there, you don't touch that. And it's just it's really helpful, not only to them, for me.
Do you find it hard to
Yeah,
ask
that's-
questions? Do you
My
find it
s-
hard to ask people questions now, or have you
Well,
learned
you
to
know what
ask questions?
happens
Because
is
we were raised not to question, right, Don?
Yeah, for
We're
sure.
a whole generation.
It-
Of, don't bother people.
Stay out of
Just
people's business.
stay out of their business. That's their business. Mind your own business. And that's not just us. That's literally everyone I know our age.
That's our generation.
That's our generation. And I have such a hard time asking questions. How I ended up doing a podcast is
Well, and you keep it in the family,
yes.
right? So you don't share your stuff either.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't ask and you don't share because that's your family stuff.
Which is where we're
You
getting
don't talk about our family stuff.
foreign. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What I found in the teaching that I received and my study in that for counseling that way is that I found that they'll touch something, like say something, and then they usually place something there that needs to have a question.
Yes.
I listen. Believe it or not, I'm a
Amazing.
listener. I wait for that. I put down little points on my paper, and this has been a real teaching curve for me, and I'm getting better at it.
Hey, that's awesome.
When it has to be, when it's a professional thing, you know, I
Yes.
don't to my girls, like I just blah blah blah, you know, but them, it's just silence type of thing, and then
Yeah.
I get questions out of that and say, well, did you think of this? I ask them back the question so that then they then open up that way. So I'm learning that way, and they're very like it. Just then it starts to lead
Yes.
that way. So I'm
Yeah.
learning the way to ask question, but not blatantly ask the question.
Yeah.
So it works.
It's an
itself.
art form. Asking,
Yeah.
I've learned asking good questions.
it
I mean, as
does.
doulas, Don, when we did our training, we learned the art of listening,
Mhm.
right? How to be silent when a mama
Yeah.
just needs your presence.
That's
She
right.
just needs you to hum beside her while she's moaning and groaning, you know? And
Mhm.
that was a huge challenge for me. I
Mhm.
really had to heart. And when I put my doula hat on and I was in that professional setting, it was much easier. But you know, with my kids or with family or whatever, I have a very hard time. Just zip it.
Yeah.
And just hear what's coming out and ask the questions that are presenting themselves. So I'm
Mhm.
glad even
Mhm.
as you get older, you have the ability to learn and to grow and
That's
expand.
right.
But it's true what you said, Dawn and Holly, is that growing up, it was you keep it in the family. And I remember one time, and mothers always have regrets. When I have to speak on Mother's Day type of thing somewhere, it's the hardest message for me to prepare. And I always
And we both understand that now.
Yes, we
Yeah.
understand that. And I say that to, I say, I know that this becomes repetitious for me when I'm bringing a message, talking to you ladies, then to the congregation or to whoever I am or body of people, is that all mothers have regrets. And I understand that. And you ladies understand when I say that.
Yeah.
So I said, we can't live on those regrets. But if we can do some help and healing and correction on that, and that's what I hope to bring today, is what I say to them.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
that's important, because you got to recognize that, like, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
None of us. The kids aren't perfect. The husbands aren't perfect. And, you know, but I was raised in the sense that we were kind of we were on stage all the time.
You're the example.
And we sat in the
Yeah.
front pew. Like, I was raised as a PK. It's a preacher kid. And so therefore my mother had a very long rubber arm. So that's what we would call it, a rubber arm.
She had the mom glare.
Yeah, and like I couldn't eat. She always brought me some crackers in church because I just needed something to munch on. And I didn't have the crayons and the coloring books and things like that. But she'd bring a hanky and she'd show me how to make things do with the hanky. And then I try to eat the crackers. Like, I have to go like this and make sure no one saw me and things like that's so ridiculous. Like, I used to bring my kids in little things, wrap them up, and, you know, so what, you know, type of thing. But so little things change. But I say, just
Yeah.
don't make a mess, type of thing. But I remember even today, I've had people in different cultures. Different cultures are different. Like, they're different because they're different cultures.
Yeah.
But they'll say things, oh, well, you know, we don't want them, you know, kids shouldn't be eating that stuff in church because they're just going to make a mess. I say, well, isn't it good they're in church?
Exactly.
Let's just swallow that and let them have a fun time and enjoy their food. Give them some paper and some crayons,
Yeah.
take them. But they usually have another area for the kids and that. But if they don't, goodness sakes.
Yeah. Lighten up.
What a better place! What a better place for them, you know, to have listen to
To enjoy the
music
time.
and enjoy the time
Yeah.
that they're there.
Yeah.
Really. So I've come like full circle on that. That, you know, my mother would look like, Oh,
Yes,
you know
now
what I
she
mean?
tells us as grandma, "Oh, mommy, it's okay."
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry.
Just let them do it. Just let them do it.
You will pass.
Who is
Don't
that
worry.
woman?
Raise them as well as you can and let it go. You
And
know,
I'm like, "That's not my mother."
no,
Scaring us from the
that's
organ,
right.
from
Yeah,
the piano on stage.
yeah. And poor Holly, she fell asleep. Remember that Dawn one time? She fell asleep. She was sitting by you on the chair, and I was at the piano. I was playing. We were in the school, and she fell
when
on the
we were in
floor.
the
She had
school.
fallen asleep.
Oh,
She fell on the floor, and I looked back, and I gave Dawn the eagle eye, like she did
Like,
not.
I was the worst person ever that I did not know you were about to fall off the chair and catch you.
No, of course she didn't.
that's hilarious!
I wasn't even looking at you.
I never knew that story.
She, and then
That's a
another
new one.
lady
That explains
came up
so much. That's why I get headaches. You know,
and another lady come up.
It's a lingering
she ran-
concussion from when I hit
If,
the floor.
if I had been a little older, I probably would have pushed you off. So I think the fact that it wasn't actually my fault was pretty good.
You were like, wow, way to go. You were just
Yeah,
shocked.
that was awesome. Except when the eyes came over, then.
But you know what, girls? Funny thing is
That's
that I had
hilarious.
another lady that was in my era of, age, and when after that happened at the end of the
Church,
service,
yeah.
she came up to tell me maybe you should look after your children instead of playing the piano.
Ooh,
We didn't have anybody.
Thanks,
I
Karen.
said, no, it wasn't her.
no. No, Karen's a generic.
That's okay.
It's a
I'm
generic-
not saying who.
It's a terrible thing. I
Oh,
shouldn't say
okay,
that.
okay.
It's a generic
because I know
nosy woman
Karen
name.
and she was there.
It wasn't
so.
Karen.
But anyway, I'm just saying. You see what happens, and I say, well, I said
You can't win.
I was doing what
I'm doing what I was up there to do.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
We didn't have
but I
kids'
never
church
said
then.
anything about Dawn to her. But
Yeah,
anyway,
and Dawn didn't catch her, so
Yeah, my babysitter fell down on the job over there. My
No,
7-year-old.
but there was there's so much stuff like that you think of, and yeah.
Oh, I'll have to unpack that one later. All right. Okay, so moving on.
I'm sorry for any brain issues you've had.
All the brain damage. Well, let's talk about brain damage. Let's talk about how Dawn was X-rayed in the womb.
Oh yeah,
That's why you glow.
yeah. Well,
It's
I
that
did
beautiful glow you had.
all day. I kept feeling my ears were plugged. My husband was away on a camping trip. With
Now, were you full term with her, or
bunch
were
of
you
boys.
past date?
No, I was past
You were
date.
past.
I was maybe
Not that matters.
5 days or whatever,
Right.
not quite a week. And I went to bed, and then all of a sudden there was this warm sensation and water, and I
Oh,
jumped.
your water actually broke.
Oh yeah, I jumped
Oh
out
my
of bed
gosh.
and it was all over the floor. So what did I do? I went and got towels
I cleaned it
because my
up.
mother scrubbed floors, right? Like my mother kept everything you could eat off her floors. So I got all that from her, cleaned it all up, went and turned on the bath, had a bath because I was a mess,
Yeah.
and called my mom
That's
and
a good
dad, and she sent my dad over. He took me to the hospital. I had my suitcase ready. I think I had it ready. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
You probably did. I
Yeah,
can't
no, I
imagine
mean,
you didn't.
probably. Anyway, and I really didn't know what had happened, but I knew that the water broke before
Okay,
the
wait,
baby
back
was
up.
born.
So this is what I
So
think.
we
is
tell everyone with a first child, chances of your water breaking is the first thing is like almost next to zero that's going to happen.
statistically, having your water break as your first sign of labor is way at the bottom of the list.
Oh, I was told
Right.
that was it. You get to the hospital.
So isn't that funny? Like,
No,
what kind of information did you have leading into labor and even through pregnancy? Like, did you have prenatal classes? Did you do
yeah, I didn't go.
Lamaze or whatever?
I didn't go.
You didn't go. Well, even today, there's
They
so
were
many women
offered.
who don't go.
They were offering.
This is explaining so many things right now.
No, but I went to one, and there were these guys. I was by myself. I didn't know you bring your husband.
Oh,
And there were these guys. I guess their husbands were there too. And I thought, there's no way I'm going back there. And these husbands are touching their belly and they're doing all that. And I thought, I don't think so. So I just
this was in
didn't-
the 70s, right?
yeah, I didn't bother.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was like
They were probably pretty earthy,
71.
birthy classes.
I don't know. And Lamaze had a friend who did Lamaze, and I thought, oh, that's really strange. I don't think so.
So
But my
funny.
mother always was disappointed. I never breastfed my children because she breastfed them all. She said, that's the best thing you could do from now. That she knew. She
Yeah.
knew that
Well,
was a
'Cause
good
that's all
thing.
you had that time, right? Like
Yeah,
that was
she didn't
again
do
that generation.
girls,
You're
couldn't
like, how
afford them.
else would I be doing this? Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
So you went into labor. You
I
got
went
to the
in labor.
hospital.
My dad left me at the elevator at the bottom. My little hands me my suitcase and says, okay, he says, we'll check in on you. And up goes the elevator. Away I go. Never been in the hospital before for
Okay,
nothing.
but where was Steve? Where was Dawn's dad?
Well, he was on a camping trip with his
Oh.
kids, and he was in the bush. So who was going to go and get him?
I didn't
he's
know
There's
that.
no cell phones.
No, this was Friday night.
I had never
was in
heard that
labor
word.
all day. I was in labor all day Saturday in the bed.
By yourself?
The lead, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Well,
Mama.
the nurse came
It
in.
makes
Like,
me
that's
sad
what you
for
do.
you.
My mom phoned,
And she's 20 years old.
There.
I'm only 20.
Yeah, let's mention this. Only 20.
Yeah, I'm only 20. But 19, yeah, I was married. Yeah,
Married,
couldn't
you're
do
Yeah,
anything.
married 19. She's 20. Yeah.
Anyway, so I
Wow.
just laid there and she come in and checked her. And once she came in, I'm sure she scratched me with her nail when she went up there to check me. I screamed and she said, "Oh, you be quiet." She says, "You don't have to make a noise like that." Like she told me right off. And I thought, oh my goodness. I thought, okay, is labor this
I
bad?
was like,
I
come
thought,
here, let me put my whole fist upside you.
is labor
Tell
this
me how to
bad? I couldn't believe it. Anyway, so that's all that happened. And then my mother,
But you weren't progressing.
no, my mom came in that Saturday, late Saturday afternoon. Late Saturday was around 5 o'clock, I
Time,
think.
Grandma.
It was like 24 hours later. No more than 24 hours. 30.
Yeah, it would be, yeah, because I went up, not quite. So anyway,
So we gotta
doesn't
remember
matter.
she hasn't had amniotic fluid. Well, I mean, it's replenishing, but you haven't had fluid for that
They
long.
gave me no water. I had nothing. I was just in bed.
And you're not allowed to eat or drink.
No, not eat or drink. And I had to go
And
to
you're
the
flat on your back.
had to go to the bathroom on the round thing on you put it in your
No.
bed. Wouldn't let me out of bed. Could not
Yep.
get out of bed. Don't dare go out of bed. And I did get
I
out of
thought
bed.
we were ahead of that by that point.
I got out of
No.
bed the first time because they hadn't told me that.
I'm horrified right now.
They didn't tell me that. So I got out of bed and I walked out and they saw me at the nurse's station and they grabbed me and they put me back in bed and said, "Where are you?" I said, "Well, I have to go to the bathroom."
All you mamas out there walking the halls in labor, be
Anyway,
grateful. You can
So
at
my-
least move.
my mama
And
came in.
meanwhile, I need to turn. I have no water and she's flat on her back.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not in position.
My
That's
mom
right.
comes in. She
Way to
takes
go.
my wrist. She starts taking my heart pressure. She starts timing right on the clock. She said to me, "See that clock?" She says, "Every time you feel a pain at that you got to push or your pain, you tell me." So I did. And she says,
Go, Grandma.
she let go of my wrist after about 2 minutes. She walked out there. And it's the first time I ever heard my mother raise her voice in the way she did it. She says, "You get a doctor in here now. She is in labor." Like that. And things started moving. I could hear the chairs out there and the nurses going. She's, "I'm not leaving until you get a doctor in here." And
Yeah.
she did. She stayed
What the
there.
heck?
And the doctor who was a partner of my
Hopefully
doctor.
he wasn't drunk.
No, he was called the butcher.
Oh,
I got
lovely.
him because the other guy was out of
Darn,
town.
you got the butcher.
Out of town. Now, someone who works in that hospital, retired now, she came in to visit me and she says, "Oh, you got the butcher." And I thought, "Oh, isn't that wonderful?" Anyway, I just thought that in my head. And she says, "Yeah, he's not really good at stitching, eh?" And I said, "I don't know. I hadn't seen them yet." Anyway, that's another side. But anyway, yeah. So they come in, they flipped me onto a
Trolley,
Trolley,
whatever. Yeah.
rushed me down there, put a big plate of thing in front of me, and the girl that was doing it, I knew her. She'd come to our church. She was really good. What do you call them?
Radiologist.
Yeah. Anyway, got that plate on me and said, "Oh, we gotta cover you here." Took
Okay,
extra.
but they had ultrasounds at that time. They actually did.
Yeah, because my doctor did one.
So
No, he didn't. It was with you. They did one.
But they did have ultrasound. I looked this up.
I never had
They
one.
had, probably not in the zoo. They didn't.
I never
It,
had.
it was newish, and I think because it was such a small area, they probably didn't have them yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway, took
appalling.
X-rays and everything. She looked at me and she said,
The
"Are you
baby.
okay?" And I said, "Yeah." But I said,
Are you okay?
I said, "I'm really tired. I'm really
I
tired."
haven't eaten in 24 hours
So
or
she said,
anything.
"Okay." She says, so she laid me back down and went up, and I went to take him back up. Then they rushed me up, and like it was said, "Okay, we're going to give you, I don't know, epidural." I don't know what they did. I know an epidural.
General.
But they put me anyway.
Anesthesia, yeah.
Anyway, I didn't see nothing. I didn't even see the blanket go over me. I think they put me right out. I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, they would have put you
Cut
under
me
general.
straight down and not across. Didn't ask me nothing.
Vertical incision.
Vertical incision. And anyway, I came up. When I came up on the elevator, there was Dawn, and the nurse was she was a good sized nurse, and Dawn was like 8, almost 9 pounds, and they're holding this red little and screaming her head out like this under her armpits in front of me in the glass, showing me my baby. And my sister came up, and she was standing there with me, like she was with me.
That thing's yours.
And she says, there's your baby, Marilyn. I said, "Oh, that's Dawn." And I was
But that was like 24 hours later almost.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
were in
Like you didn't
anesthesia.
wake up for a long time.
Oh, you had massive surgery, so you would have been in recovery
I was a
for
long time.
almost a whole day.
I didn't come up till.
Oh my
She
goodness.
saw me Sunday evening, wasn't it, or Sunday afternoon?
I saw you. Yeah, late Sunday afternoon, because your dad got in there, didn't come in because of that. Like he didn't get home until Sunday afternoon. So
Could you imagine
he
your poor
didn't come
dad
up
was
till
like,
then.
what?
But I saw him, and Ruth had come up, and my sister, and there we were, and I was almost crying that they were holding you like that,
No kidding.
and they had you in because you had hoof and
Hoof and mouth?
hoof and mouth. Well, that's what they told me. I didn't even know if
You were a horse.
I didn't even know what.
No, I think I had jaundice. I think I had a bit of jaundice.
No, but they didn't say that. They
No, because
used
they
that
were
funny.
dumb.
I'll never forget that. And I thought, what is that? I didn't
I
know
was
what
in an incubator, like a big
you were.
with a light and everything. So I think it was jaundice from the look of the pictures.
You were still crying. I thought, what kind of person is this?
Yeah, who put the crying baby
Anyway,
back
they
in there
rolled me
crying?
back into my room, and I
Oh.
passed out like I just was done.
No kidding.
And then I didn't see your dad. He could have been. I didn't even know. I didn't see him till Sunday afternoon, at least 3:00. I finally came to. And
oh my
yeah,
goodness.
so that was it. And I thought, wow,
Can
this
we
is
talk about birth trauma here?
this is wonderful way
For
to.
both of you.
For both of us.
Do I ever want to have a baby again? I don't think so.
Thank God I arrived.
Yeah.
Thank God you
Anyway.
survived.
From
How did you-
everything that I've pieced together from Mom and like my other aunt that was in the hospital and those types of things, I think what it was I was actually transverse.
Yeah.
I think
it
I was
sounds
actually sideways.
And
And
they
there was
probably
no way I was
actually were
turning.
like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Like,
But she was having like 5-minute apart contractions for hours and hours. And that's why Grandma freaked out.
of
Well,
course.
in my 9th month,
Well, her blood pressure is probably going crazy too.
Right,
And
right.
pulse, right? Like
Right.
at that time, we don't have fetal monitoring in the sense where you can see D cells. Like,
No.
Right.
the fact you survived that.
I don't remember
It's
any
pretty incredible.
machines around me.
No.
I don't remember being hooked up to anything.
No.
I had nothing on me.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, well, in my 9th month, it was about 3 weeks before, I pedaled a tandem bike with my husband around the island of Mackinac.
On Mackinac Island.
I didn't think anything of it. And my sister-in-law was saying, you feeling okay? I said, yeah, I'm okay. And then on the way back
for
on
you.
the boat, she got to
Why
take a
not?
ferry across. It's a fast boat
Yeah.
across to the mainland in Michigan. I was having these real painful, what do you call them?
Contractions.
No, it wasn't.
Braxton Hicks.
Yeah, that was, I
Braxton
knew what
Hicks.
they called. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I thought I'd die. So that's what I was having all the way home.
Oh man.
That was, anyway, I thought, oh, this is good. This is what it feels
well, and
like.
the fact that your
to
dad thought it
birth.
was a good idea to go on a camping trip when she was 5 days overdue. You know, all those
Yeah.
conversations that didn't really ever happen in
No.
those days.
When
Like,
you
hey,
have-
honey, you should probably stick around.
Like my mom said, you have a baby, you'd have a baby. You know how to
Yeah.
birth a baby. A
Well, and what did
baby's
you need?
just
What did you
birth.
need men there for?
Yeah.
But they weren't involved in birth at that point,
That's
right?
what my
Like,
mom would always say. It's
do
okay,
your
honey. You're
thing.
going to be fine. You're just the baby. You'll have the baby.
oh my goodness.
And then, of course, you were always so hungry at night. So about the third night,
Way
I
to
said,
go. Why
"Mom,"
were you always so
They
hungry?
said they've told me to feed you 2 ounces every 4 hours. But I said, she wants, like, she's cries. And I said, I don't know what's wrong. And I'm holding her and I'm
You were
looking
9
after
pounds.
her. And I said, she says, well, feed her some more. I said, but they told me not to do it. She says, oh, Marilyn. She says, just feed her so she's hungry. So I give you some more. And okay, it was okay for like an hour. And then you start again. So she said, so then finally I told her
That's what
that
babies do.
and the next day. And she says, well, then just get her a little bit of pablum. And make
Pablum meaning cereal. Baby
cereal. Baby cereal is in a box and you mix it up with a
The
little bit
dried
of milk.
cereal
A little bit of milk.
that has metal filings in it. Now we know.
1 day old. 1 day old.
No, you were 2. It
She
was the
waited a
third
day.
Oh, 2 days. Sorry, 2 days.
Right, there.
3 days. Okay.
It was the third day. Anyway, on the third day,
Which we know. Hold on. This is interesting because I remember having my firstborn and calling Dawn almost in tears at 2. I don't know, it was like 2 a.m. when Zach was waking up. Remember, I fed him nonstop, wouldn't stop crying, and I'm in the bathtub. And she says to me, "Yeah, you're around day 2. You're heading into day 3. You remember what happens, right? Babies are inconsolable. They wake up. They start to realize they're hungry and they need you." And I'm like, right, I know this. That's literally what was happening. But who
Oh.
tells you this? I even forgot, you know? Yeah.
so I'm feeding you pablum.
So
And
pablum
then
in your
she says,
bottle.
well, you can put it in the bottle too. So I put it in your bottle. And so I feed you. Loved it. And
How did you make it?
And
Dawn?
you,
how did you
instead
survive?
of 2 ounces, you
I
drank.
know, but I do have a strong craving for wheat products.
You drank 5 ounces.
We love
3
bread.
days old, you were drinking 5.
I do.
You were a good eater from day
Yeah,
one.
you were.
There you go.
You were a good
You
eater.
went straight to the cereal.
Anyway,
That's right.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Progressed on to shreddies. We never looked back.
And
Oh,
and mom really enjoyed her baguettes or her bread and cheese kind
yes,
of too. So
I love eating
We come by it honestly.
big Dagwood
That's
steak
right.
when I was pregnant.
Oh, there you go.
Cheese, cold meat, hoagie buns.
All
That
the
was
things
my
they tell you not
lunch.
to eat when you're pregnant.
And I couldn't go back to work because there was no such thing as having a maternity leave. I worked at the bank.
right.
So that income was cut off. And I thought, oh
no.
I can't come back. We have to apply again. And we'll see if we need someone on staff, okay. I thought, okay,
No guarantee.
maybe I should
When did
have
maternity
been
leave
taken.
come into play?
I
in
should
Canada?
have told my husband I shouldn't have taken that.
I don't know. I'll look it up while we're talking.
That's interesting because I've never heard that, and yet obviously it was a newer. That idea had to progress. The fact that the U.S. is so far behind in their mat leave still makes me go, yeah, it can't be that new. I mean, it can't be that old.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
crazy. And the fact that did you end up going back and working at the bank then later, or was it the grocery store?
No, I went to the grocery store.
You got a job at the grocery
because
store.
I had started there when I was 16, so I knew kind of the ins and outs and everything I had to do there, in a sense.
Yeah.
And then I did some stuff in accounts there too, and knew
Right.
the managers. My dad knew them really well in that, so I got hired on there. And actually, it was better pay than the Royal Bank.
Really?
It was.
Wow.
It was really poor, but it was still
Yeah.
really good pay. And I could work the hours that worked around my husband working and raising Dawn and taking her to my mom and dad's place. So
Right.
all of that worked really, really well. But in those days, you raised your own children. You didn't even leave them at their grandparents. There was no such thing as them raising your children. Like my mom, she just, bring on the grandchildren, if they can all come, I'm happy, because it's like she was,
She always raised a lot of kids. so
yeah,
was
she had
used
an
to that.
empty nest
Yeah.
and they were all gone at one time, it seemed to her,
Yeah.
So she was thrilled by that.
So I want to know would most moms at that age then, or at that time, would they be home until their kids were in school?
Yeah, pretty well.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like, I was like, what are you doing working? Kind
But
of
they
that
had
look.
nursery school was quite a thing then, though. Wasn't it? Or no, because I
no.
went to nursery school and now it's not even
Oh,
a,
no.
Oh,
That
was
was
it?
just, that was barely, I don't even know of a nursery school that I
Like a
had
preschool style.
in 1971.
really.
I don't know of one.
So you're
There
looking at
probably
not till 4
was.
years old, basically. when
Yeah.
you're
So in 1971, women's rights won paid maternity leave. So the year I was born was when that first was implemented.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
To think
And
that
obviously not across Canada.
no,
whole,
like it would have taken a while.
figured out. Yeah.
And probably company wise too to figure out what that looked like.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
But I would have had to put in like the 8 hours at the bank.
Yeah.
And then, if you couldn't find the money that was missing, then you had to stay there till you found it. There was all kinds of stuff. It was so different. I learned a lot of stuff there though that really helped me later in my life when I went back to accounting. And that
Yeah, you were
was-
so good with
that was
accounting.
and that was even machines and that other people I never learned and I learned. Yeah. So it helped me.
You're a quick learner though. It's one of your gifts. You are. You're
Yeah.
a quick at picking up.
well,
you were.
hands on.
You might think you aren't now, but you are still.
Not comprehension to read, but I am. If you show me, okay, I got it.
Yeah,
type of
exactly.
thing, but not.
That's
the
me.
other
I'm a
way.
visual.
Yeah, it's
learner.
visual. That's what it is. Yeah.
I'm
Anyway.
curious. I want to know. I've never asked you this. I'm curious. What would a grocery haul for you when Dawn was little? Like let's say when she was 4 or 5, before I was born. What would a grocery shop cost you?
Well, we ran on a budget. Like
You did.
when we got married, and I got my first. The big thing is when you get married, you save your grocery bill, the first grocery you get. Believe it or not.
Oh, interesting.
And mine came to $101 and some cents. And my dad happened to be in the store that day and walking by, and he says, "Oh, it's just all the cost in the spices." He laughed and walked away. And I did buy spices, and I thought, why am I buying this spice and this spice? I don't use spices hardly at all. But I said, oh, I guess I should have to.
set up your
And
home.
Yeah, set up my home. That's right. So that's what it was. And it was like everybody was around like, oh, it's 101. They're telling everybody and everything. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, that's a lot.
So that was like to set up your whole
Your kitchen.
pantry, everything. Like that's
That
a
was-
big haul.
Yeah.
Oh man, like I think my husband made maybe $400 if that a week.
Oh wow.
Like not even that.
Yeah.
Like that was unbelievable. Like maybe two, maybe did Oh, anyway, I can't go there.
Now
because I don't know
you've
for
shown
sure.
us, like, I think, Dawn, you know where your first house was, the first house you guys
Mm,
had.
yeah.
How much did that cost when you bought your first house? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, that was $119,000, and I sold it for $132,000.
No, it was not 119,000.
Our one in Hanmer was like
No.
40,000.
It was a brand new
No,
one.
no,
No, but how
no,
did
it was 19,000.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. It was
I'm like,
19,000.
you
I
bought a
sold it for
mansion.
32,000.
Right.
I sold it for 32,000.
Yeah.
That's right.
I
That's
can't
right.
even comprehend those numbers
That's
anymore.
right. I had it on
Yeah,
the
because we
market
would never. It's always in the hundreds
for
or
28,000.
millions.
I had to lower it. I sold it for 28,000. That's right. Because I didn't have quite $10,000, but I had saved a little bit, so it came up to the 10,000 that we bought that one piece of property. Then in the other when we moved.
And it was a duplex, right?
It was a semi.
A semi, yeah.
Yeah.
Two sides, yeah.
Brand new. It was very, very nice. And
And it's
beautiful.
Yeah, it was brand new.
Yeah, it
Still
looks
there today?
looks bad now, but it's good. It was really good. Yeah,
Still
and
standing.
nice area town, everything, you know. So
Yeah.
that was
How many bedrooms do they have?
3 bedrooms, upstairs, bathroom, and then downstairs, no bathroom, anything. The rec room was finished. Dining room, living room, nice large kitchen, eat-in kitchen, dining room, living room. It was
That's
very
a-
pretty.
Yeah.
And then it had the laundry room behind, but I didn't have a washer and dryer. And that's something that your dad, Don, had bought for me. First, I got the washer, and then I'd have to hang things out on the line to dry, or I'd take them to my mom's to dry, or his mom's. But his mom, well, anyway, and some people like you to do it their place, some don't. So anyway, but she was lovely. I loved her. And so finally, when your dad was sick, the steel plant that he worked at, they raised a lot of money, and we paid off a few bills that we had, and also I was able to buy a dryer. He wanted me to buy a dryer for
Aw.
Christmas, which was really nice.
They raised money for him while he was sick.
Oh yeah,
Oh, I didn't
they
know
were
that.
good. They were good to us. They were so
Wow.
good to us.
Huh.
And so I bought a dryer, and I thought, wow, was this ever nice? And I had a washer and dryer. But
Just long before GoFundMe.
yeah, anyway, that
That's
was
great.
really nice.
All right, Dawn.
And I used diapers. We didn't have no such thing as paper diapers for me. Maybe
Just
they
cloth
had
diapers?
them out. All cloth. I washed
It would have been, yeah.
by
I think
hands
in
all-
the late '60s is when we started seeing hampers. I think is when they was one of the
Maybe.
first ones. But it would have been into the '70s when
Would
it just started mass
And
Yeah,
produced.
it still would have been more normal to be cloth diaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Lenora was
baby
cloth
shower
then.
to get the Q-Tex diaper, cloth diaper, was the best you could get. It was, I think it was called Q-Tex, Cutex.
Yeah.
And they were in a box, and I got those for my shower. And of course, the safety pins with the little pink heads on them that lock. You know, you have to have those, and then the little plastic pants go over them, all of that.
Oh yeah, the plastic pants.
So that
Hold
was
all the
all-
moisture in.
Yeah, and it was fun because I'd make her clothes and that. I sew her clothes.
Yeah, you were a good seamstress.
I love doing that. And so that was different because I'd wash her because I didn't have a washer and dryer in the apartment that we were in. Really nice senior, no, not senior, they had 2 boys, little boys, but Italian couple, lovely people. And she'd bring me down roasted peppers that they did on the barbecue and wine, dandelion wine, and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
and I thought it was really nice. She always called you Donna Maria. 'Cause,
Aw.
of course, that's oh, she's beautiful, Mary. She like you were a saint. Okay,
Yeah.
the best in name. You were best in name. And
That was when
lovely
you were in your
people.
apartment.
But I would
That's
wash your
awesome.
diapers by hand in the sink and rinse them about 3 times because I was always concerned that you'd get a rash or anything.
Yeah.
My mom would tell me that. You know, make sure you wash the diapers really good, rinse them really, really good. Hang them out to dry is the best. So I hang along the fence at the back of our apartment over the edge of the neighbor's fence.
I remember
Dry
in
them.
Shelburne. Do you remember my clothesline when we lived there?
Mhm.
And when Zach, I would
Yeah.
hang out all his cloth diapers. I
Yeah.
remember the one time Mom saying to me, "Oh my goodness, I did this with Dawn. I remember washing her
Oh.
cloth diapers."
I wish I had a line, but I didn't.
That would have been a lot easier.
But anyway, yeah. So
I'm asking all the
that's-
questions, so I need Dawn. You
Yeah.
gotta have some questions. It's your turn.
I'm just enjoying the story.
You probably don't.
No, she has none.
I want to know more things like about maybe, because I know we had different ways of, Mom with eating and our eating habits at home and meal times and things like that.
Yeah.
But even,
So even my kids have been asking me this recently, and so I was thinking about this. So I need to ask you this. So in the 70s, fast food became very popular, right? Like that, we didn't have microwaves quite yet until later, but being able to, like, TV dinners were around.
I love TV dinners.
Right.
I was little.
Like, yeah, TV dinners were around, and like things like scalloped potatoes in a box had started coming out. Like, you didn't have to make them from scratch. Some of those instant things, pudding, Jell-O, Kool-Aid, all those, like, stir it up and it's ready. And so my kids were saying to me, so how did your parents, like, did they think that was good food to give you? Like, is that how it was promoted? Because my kids are like, you won't let us touch any of that. So they wonder, how did you think of food? Like, how did you think of feeding your kids? Was nutrition even something that you knew about? Because it was marketed different.
Well,
yeah, it was definitely marketed different.
my dad's parents grew gardens all their life, and his dad even was a baker at one time. Had a little bake shop. Anyway, they had a lot of gardens, and my dad always had a garden that I can remember every house we were at. And he felt that the best was the vegetables and all that kind of stuff. So I was raised on a lot of vegetables and potatoes. My mom said she couldn't feed me pablum. I only wanted potatoes. So I love, and I do to this
Like
day,
Emma.
I love potatoes.
My daughter.
So that was a main thing for me. She'd give me potatoes, but we didn't have a lot. Meat was expensive, and TV dinners, if you were rich, you bought a TV dinner. So we never, I might have 3 times in my life had a TV dinner in my life, but even back then I might have had one then. I might have. But it was like peas and corn and broccoli, beans, and then my dad would give us stuff like that, tomatoes, that kind of thing. But you liked corn, and you didn't like you liked peas, but you didn't like broccoli. At least you weren't getting. You didn't get it a lot. I didn't give it to you a lot, but when I did, your dad would always say she doesn't like that, and she doesn't like peas because he hated peas. His mother made him sit at the table.
What not
one
to
time,
say
I
to your
remember
kids.
when he was little, visiting when I was small, and I was visiting his house. We were there for a meal, and he sat there for 2.5 hours because he didn't eat his peas, and he could not leave the table until he ate them. So anyway, that's the story there, Dog. But as far as nutrition, the word nutrition was never used in my home or in my life. I didn't know anything about that. I just knew that butter was the best thing for you. Don't buy any of those margarines. But my mother, when I was young, we got those packets of margarines that had that colored bead inside, and you press it and it pops inside the bag and it makes it look like butter. It changes it to yellow. It was white. And
it was margarine?
It's margarine. Oh yeah. My mom bought those when I was
dyed margarine.
It was dyed. Yeah, and that came in when between when I was 4 and like after I was 4 years old. So that would have been 55, 56. That was a new thing that came in.
Because it was kind of that industrial age,
cheaper,
right?
way cheaper than butter.
There was progress being made, and it wasn't all good.
But
like,
my mother used
let's just innovate.
shortening or lard, like for baking. She was an excellent baker and cook. And so when this came in, that was cheaper, but she used it more, I think, in cooking. I don't remember. I still remember butter on the table, not the margarine. Now I could be wrong, but I never remember buying. I never remember buying.
I don't remember when we were little.
I
I don't remember ever having margarine. I mean, I'm sure we did at times, but I don't.
Oh, we had margarine. We always had margarine.
Did we?
Yeah,
No,
always had margarine.
Yeah, I bought
in the
margarine.
fridge. Butter was for baking.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, you're right.
Yeah. And
butter. The sticks of butter was when she'd bake.
Yeah. But for on your toast, it was margarine. Like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's true.
And it was just
and at grandma's, that was the same. I remember grandma had both, but for like toast, margarine was there.
Yeah. So that was kind of my upbringing in that. But then when I, was raising you, I never really gave it any thought, like food.
So when there was new things, like let's say TV dinners were more available and more affordable, because I remember it was a treat to have a TV dinner. Like we get the
TV dinner,
and have a TV dinner.
I buy you TV dinners.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I
loved
that.
them. My favorite. Even when I was a teenager, we'd get them.
See, I don't.
My
that was very steak.
Yeah, yours was steak and mine was the chicken, the fried chicken. I love the mashed potatoes.
Oh yes, that was really good. The fried chicken was good too. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, sure, it wasn't good, but it was good.
It was a special
Oh,
thing.
it must have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember the pop shop pop, right?
Oh,
Dad
yes,
would
that
take
was-
us to the,
I was just telling my kids that. Yeah.
but it's not like we had it all. I don't remember having
No,
it
those were
all the
treats.
time.
Yeah.
In the summer,
No.
we have it more often.
When we had a babysitter, we
Yes.
got
Chips.
chips or cheesies
Yeah.
and a pop, and that was like once a month, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I actually like
maybe.
I like that
Maybe, yeah.
routine because it kind of makes it, hey, it's a fun event. You're having a babysitter, mom and dad are going out, you get the treats
Yeah.
now. So I've
Yeah.
done that. I did that a few times with my kids, and of course I've got a husband who exists on chips. So they're always in the house now.
I never, ever, our family never had chips. That thing, I don't even know if it was out. We had crush pop, like orange pop was his favorite thing, but that was a lot of money. To me, it was like a quarter or something. So we barely ever got that. An ice cream cone or a ice cream bar
Hmm.
was 10 cents. Like that was, once in a while on Sunday, I'd walk up to the drugstore and I'd be able to get an ice cream bar.
Mm.
That was our treat. But there was never in the house. We never had stuff like that in the house ever.
Right.
My mom made cookies or something like that. But then, being a large family, she doled that out.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you never had anything after supper, never before you went to bed. If you were going to have something, maybe a piece of toast, maybe.
Mhm.
But no,
We're just snacking. Yeah.
yeah, there was, yeah. So I didn't, but then that's all this stuff came in, and yeah.
Yeah, when we were little, like having something like Jell-O, for example, or a
Oh.
pudding that you could just mix up yourself, was it promoted as a, wow, make your life easier, ladies? Because I mean, it was definitely an age where that's where formula was really hugely
Yeah.
pushed, and that's where it was women in the workforce. I think now that you said that, Dawn, about that all makes sense, because it's like, hey, get back to work, ladies. The women's liberation movement, feed your family
Yeah.
something fast and easy. What can we have on the table? You don't even have to worry about cooking now. That sort of mentality where we're moving out of the 50s and 60s into that.
Lots of canned goods, right?
Yeah.
Like all of that started. You could get your vegetables canned. You didn't have to have them fresh anymore. Like we
had a
grew up on a lot of canned vegetables.
Well, we always had a garden, and that's one thing I thought was really cool. Like in Dowling, we grew up, we had that big garden in the back.
Yeah.
So that I like that, because I always grew up with the concept that there's convenience, but you can still have what you want. Like you can still grow something if you want to grow
I think
it.
I bought more canned goods than I did frozen goods.
Yeah.
Because I was raised more on that than the frozen, because my dad always had a garden, so we'd have the canned. But when we go to the cottage, we couldn't have frozen stuff because we had the
Right.
big ice fridge. You had to put a big block of ice
Right.
in it.
It wouldn't stay frozen. It would stay cold.
Yeah, you had to keep
Yeah.
replacing that block of ice. So my mom would do all canned stuff. See,
Right.
but my parents canned a lot of stuff too, and I never learned to can, but I have the idea of how to can. Yeah, she did pickles and did fruit and things like that, but not a lot. My dad did more of that than my mom
Okay.
ever did. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was his thing, and it was kind of his enjoyment, his relaxation to do that.
Well, it's funny. It's like when I remember Dad, I don't know if you were home then when he would do that, when he'd make his jellies
Yeah, he would be.
in the laundry
Yeah.
room, like
It
dirty
wasn't
socks.
my thing. Yeah,
He'd be down there straining whatever they were into his jellies.
yeah,
Yep.
It stinks, but it tastes so good.
yeah. High bush
Yeah.
cranberry.
Yeah, cranberry. That's what it was. That
High
was
bush
awesome.
cranberry. Yeah,
I love it. Those
Yeah.
are fun memories.
or
though.
pin cherry sometimes. We had the big pin cherry tree.
Oh
and
yeah,
and we had the blackberry tree bushes at the back.
yeah.
Mhm.
Those
That
were
was
neat.
good. That was good. Would you like to learn more? Find me on Instagram and YouTube at Mom Days Podcast.